Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
So when it says kept my commandments, that's mitzvah. And the word mitzvah is built or comes from the word zavah. So if you see you got the same core there, you just add the mem in front. That's what we get mitzvah from. Okay. Now back in Esther, chapter 2, verses 15. And it reads, Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abiel, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken for his daughter, was come to go into the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So once again, she was given a commandment. She, what? Obeyed. Amen. Which is better than sacrifice. So she wasn't going in there, right? Because I'm assuming these women had access to all this stuff. To make themselves, to whatever they want to do. And she was like, no, just whatever you give me, I'm good. Okay. So verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is a month, Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. The king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he had set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So once again, we see Yah maneuvering in the back. No fire, no earthquakes, no angels, no warriors, no none of that. If you obey, I got the rest. Amen. Your obedience will be far greater than any sacrifice. But it's hard when we get in the way now. It's hard. So Esther is hidden, right? We talked about this last couple of weeks. What was hidden again in Hebrew? What was hidden again? So we're going to learn it one way or the other. We're going to learn one way. Hidden. Safan. Safan. You was close. You was Safan. So she was Safan. She was hidden. And what was unique about that passage? Well, not there. What was unique about Psalms 83 and 3? Crafty counsel against thy hidden ones. And the hidden ones is also referring to like a treasure. So Esther, who's not even going by her real name, who is not revealed what nation she's from or her tribal lineage,
but she blended in real good though.
is hidden like a treasure. Very valuable, very precious, but hid, covered up in this massive empire. Huge empire, humongous empire. Okay. Let's look at verse chapter 3 and 1. So this is why she's hidden. After these things, did Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were at the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Okay, this sounds familiar, right? This is what we just looked at in Daniel, right? With Shadrach, Meshach, one bad Negro, right? And then we had that same, kind of the same with Tobit when he was carried off to Nineveh, and how he would do things that were against the way of the land. He's like, man, I'm gonna bury my people. I'm gonna take care of the poor. Verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressed thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand. For he had told them that he was of the Yehuda, that he was of Yehudi. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had shown him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Yehudim that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So now it's not enough that I got beef with you because you don't want to bow to me. But I'm going to kill all you people. I'm going to kill all you people. So now we see who the great chess player is, don't we? We have because if you play chess, the most versatile piece on the chessboard is the
Pawn.
queen. Queen, most versatile. Queen.
You can move anywhere you want.
So now we have the queen who is hidden, covered, and then we have the right-hand man of the king who is highly esteemed, and he's got so much power that you got to bow to him like he's the king. And Mordecai's like, no, man, I don't do like that. I don't. That's not what I do. Okay. Let's stay into the 3rd chapter, verse 7. In the 1st month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of the king Ahasuerus, they cast pure, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, and to 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. Their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. Now, if history truly repeats itself, then there should be a Haman in the ears of a king saying that there are people all throughout this world who are so peculiar. Because, we read 1 Peter 2 and 9, and everybody gets happy about 1 Peter 2 because I'm of a royal priesthood, I'm a peculiar people, I'm set apart. So there is a Haman, there will be a Haman in the king's ear that says, this group of people, it ain't fit for them to live. And before he said, oh man, that's too hard. I don't know how many different aspects of human genocide we've had in just world history. We're not going to hit that lesson today, but there's been so many acts of just one group of people wiping out another group of people. That is actually not far-fetched at all. So, and you know these people by the way they keep their laws, and they will not put man's law above their law or their God's law. They won't put one over the other. They'll be different, they'll be unique, and they're not even fit to live. Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it to the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand, gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and the Yehudim's enemy. So this guy got a bill passed. He got a law passed to wipe out the people who believe and serve Yah. So if that happened then, in a huge empire, what do you think because we know the root behind Haman is the ugly one. The adversary. So what do you think is going to happen to you? So here we are. We can't even handle simple stuff. Will our walk stand out? Will our walk be noticed by our enemy? Will our walk be noticed by the enemy? Or will you just seem like the rest of the sheeple? Somebody caught it. I'm glad. Easter, I'm sorry. Esther. Spit it out of my mouth. I vomited it out of my mouth. Esther 4, chapter 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went to the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whether the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Yehudim, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many laying sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told her. Then the queen was exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth for him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatach, which is one of the king's chamberlains, who had an appointed to attend unto her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hatach went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Yehudim to destroy them. Also he gave them a copy of the writing of the decree that was given to Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him and her people. So now we have this law that went out, right? So on the news or on your phone start going off, and all the people who serve Elohim, all the people who worship Yah, there's a hit on your head. ATF, FBI, all these folks, all the alphabet boys looking for you. So now this has been given to Esther. Remember, she's a young girl, right? Young girl. She's like, man, hold up. I really didn't even want to be the queen. I just was chilling. All of a sudden, there was a problem at the house, and he wanted a new queen, and somehow I ended up here. And my uncle said, don't say a word. I just did what my uncle said. Verse 10, and again Esther spake unto Hatash, and gave him a commandment unto Mordecai, and all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come into the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live, but have not been called to come to the king these 30 days. So we have even more pressure. So it's pressure on her that my folks are about to be exterminated. Now my uncle is telling me to go to the king, but I can't even really go to the king unless I'm called to the king, because the law is if I go to the king, you get murdered. Unless he holds out the golden scepter, but I ain't talked to him in like 30 days. He might be doing something his call. He might, I don't know. I don't know. He want me to go talk to him. I don't know what to do. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Yehudim. See, that's what happens, is that people want to find comfort in the law of the land. Well, if I just kind of blend in, I'll go ahead and I'll work today. I'll go ahead and I'll eat this. I'll go ahead and I won't do this. I won't do that. I'll kind of, that's nothing new. This is nothing new. Y'all been doing this, but I don't know how long you've been doing this. Verse 14, for if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Yehudim from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether thou art coming to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Yehudim that are present in Shushan, and fast yet for me. Neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So this is a point where we see the Yehudim are saying, you know what? I give it to you. I don't have a plan. I really don't have a plan. The only thing I can do is go into the king, and I might not come back. So there was something that was said, hold thy peace. Hold thy peace. Okay, and we've talked about this before in the past. Hold thy peace, or holdest thy peace, in Esther 4:14. And charash, and to cut in, plow, devise, engrave, devise, keep silent, be numb. Okay, so he's saying, hold thy peace. All right, he said, if for altogether, if thou holdest thy peace, if you hold your peace, if you stay silent, okay, if you stay silent, then it's going to be bad, bad, bad. Not for us, but for you.
Yeah.
And your whole family. Okay, if you hold, if you don't do what if you hold this in, if you think you're gonna be safe, you're gonna have another way, there's not gonna be another way. So why so much pressure on this child? On this poor baby? She was just living with her uncle, just living in Shushan, just doing shit, minding her. Why is pressure on this baby? Who is she? And the most important question whenever there's a crisis, where is Yah? Where is my salvation? Where is it? Remember we talked about this last couple of weeks. What I conceal, I will reveal.
Amen.
So Esther's real name is what? Hadassah. Hadassah. So in our Hebrew, Hadassah, myrtle. Not myrtle like a person, or myrtle like turtle. All right? All right? Myrtle. What does that mean? The root word is hadass. Hadass. Myrtle tree. So the only difference between a myrtle tree and hadassah is you had a hay on the end. Okay, see that hay on the end there? Hadassah and myrtle tree. Only thing we get from this is it grows rapidly. So what in the world? Why is this young girl a virgin, a baby? Somehow is now the queen of this largest empire on the face of the earth, whose name is Hadassah, and it means myrtle. What is y'all cooking? What is y'all cooking? Isaiah 41. Because y'all give a word, that word will be 500 years old, 1,000 years old. You know what? That word will come right on time, woman. Right on time. So Yeshaya, or Isaiah 41 and 19. You're gonna look at what he said. Verse 19, Isaiah 41 and 19. I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittah tree, the myrtle, and the oil tree. I will set in the desert the fir tree, the pine, and the box tree together, that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of Yah hath done this. The Holy One of Yisrael hath created it. Okay, so he's talking about pulling up trees and putting trees in the wilderness. Okay, I don't mean that. Okay, all right, let's see. Isaiah 53. But if certain trees pop up in certain places, he did it. He said everybody gonna know. Isaiah 53. Somebody look up. I done messed up. Glad I got this here. 55. Okay. My bad. 55 and 13. 55 and 13. Instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree. Instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree. And it shall be to the Lord for a name, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. Okay, we have two prophecies that have been given by Isaiah, who was a prophet, and he prophesied into the southern kingdom of Judah. So this is before they go into captivity, right? This Persian era is after the Babylonian era. So Yah is saying that in the weirdest, obscure places, I'll pull up a myrtle tree. Everybody know about it. In the weirdest places, at the oddest times, a myrtle tree. What her name mean?
Esther.
Myrtle? Who is she?
Esther.
She the queen? Oh, what I conceal, I will reveal. What does a myrtle tree do? Grows rapidly. Spreads like weeds. Are the Yahudim all in this 127 promises? A whole bunch of them, man.
Yes, they are in every promise.
A whole bunch of, and then he said with Isaiah, before they even got to where they are now, that in the weirdest places, at the oddest time, I'll call them a myrtle tree. So can you imagine hearing that? Can you imagine being in Jerusalem or somewhere in Judea and Isaiah walking up down the street talking about a myrtle tree popping up in the wilderness? He's like, man, you crazy. But you know what? It ain't crazy now. But that edict that's done went out. It ain't crazy when Mordecai said, hey, you got to go to the king. It ain't crazy when it's like, hey, we all got to fast and pray because I don't know what to do. It's out of my hands now. Let's go to Acts 10. Acts 10. We won't connect this, but we're going to look at something really quick. My question is, if Mordecai and Esther were just habitual lawbreakers, would any of this be possible?
Come on.
Could he use them? Just habitual lawbreakers? Law like Torah? The wisdom, the instruction. Acts 10 and 22. And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth Elohim, and of good report among all the nation of the Yahudim, was warned by God by a holy angel to send for thee into his house, and to hear words of thee. A good report. Right? They had a good report. Esther and especially her uncle, they had a good report in the midst of these people. Right? Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, good report. Daniel, good report. In a Tobit, good report. In a midst of do not keep your law. Don't follow your God. Do we have a good report? Stay in Acts 22. So if we don't have a good report, y'all can't use us. Because he's always got something cooking. He always cooking something. That should make sense. It's fresh bread come out every Shabbat. That was his command, to have fresh bread. He always got something cooking.
Amen.
22 and 12, Acts. And one Ananias, a devout man, according to the law, having a good report of all the Yehudim which dwell there. A good report. We have a good report. Yah can use us. Yahshua can do some strong things through us for the kingdom. In the positions allotted to them, Mordecai and Esther stayed obedient and leaned not to thine own understanding.
Amen.
Especially Hadassah, the one who was hidden. So let's look at something. Mordecai, son of Kish, tribe of Benjamin. Right? Mordecai, niece is Hadassah, which means myrtle. Right? So we saw two prophecies specifically about myrtle trees popping up in places that just like, like I'll move a thorn out of the way and break up a myrtle tree. Goes by a false name and hidden identity of Esther, who's of the tribe of Benjamin. Haman, his name means magnificent. That's what Haman's name means, magnificent. The son of Hammedatha, his dad's name means double. He is an Agagite. He's an Agagite. What does that mean? Well, there was a guy named King Agag who was of Amalek. You won't believe this. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt, some idiots decided to fight them from behind. You know, the old and the young and the feeble, the weak. And y'all, I thought y'all said it was going to be some beef from generation to generation.
Bye-bye, Amalek. You're going down.
Amalek attacked Israel come out of Egypt. But what they got to do with Benjamin? Well, King Saul was of Benjamin.
And he left King Agag.
He left King Agag alive.
Whoa.
Literally. Blame was that?
So you mean to tell me
That
that Yah brought this full circle
did.
because who ended up suffering was Haman, who was of the Agagites, which is of Amalek, which we're going to have beef, but Yah was like, hey man, you people of Benjamin, Saul, take care of them. Esther. Let's turn back to Esther. So she's a myrtle tree, and Yah gave two prophecies of a myrtle tree just popping up out of nowhere in just the weirdest, wildest places. And we have a young girl, virgin girl, minding her business, ain't bothering nobody. Now is all of a sudden the queen of the Medo-Persian Empire. And when it's at its probably best economy right now. They threw a party for 6 months, all right? They threw a party for 6 months. Yeah, business is booming. Business is booming. All right. So now we have Esther 7:1. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther, the queen, and the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is that petition, Queen Esther? So remember, she went through her fasting. She went to go see the king. The king had so much what?
Fun.
Favor. Just so much favor. She's like, oh yeah, come on, girl. You could even come anytime. Then she get there and just like, I want to cook y'all dinner. You're just like, what? I ain't never had a queen who's willing to cook. She's like, man, I'll cook for y'all. Okay. All right, so fast forward. Now, in middle of 2, and it should be granted thee, what is thy request? And it should be performed even to half of the kingdom. Right? Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I found favor in thy sight, O king, if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. Now he just offered her up to half the kingdom. She said, can I live? And not just can I live, but can my people live? For we were sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he? Could you imagine him? Getting up out that seat. Who try to kill my woman? And where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman. The music dropped. Da-da-da. Haman's like, whoa, wait, hold up. He got hold up, time out. Wait a minute. There ain't no time. You out of timeouts. So can you imagine Yahusha coming back? And all the people in the congregation, or all the people where he starts his judgment, is like, whoa, time out. Whoa, hold up. There ain't no such thing. The adversary and this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went to the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden to the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen to say, hey, really messed up. Then he just begging, crying, then jumped on the, like, no. Will he force the queen also before me in the house? Well, that really messed him up. Because the king probably had to walk off to cool off for a minute. Sometimes you got to walk off. You got to walk off and cool. Amen. Cool yourself and gather yourself and get some composure. And I come back and are you conscious? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who he had spoken good. For the king sent in the house of Haman. And the king said, hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. So we're not going to get into all two, but it was also Haman and his sons. Okay, Haman and his sons. So once again, so Yah, he took care of something. Right? But he had someone concealed. And so Yah used a myrtle tree. Come on. He used a myrtle tree.
Yes, sir.
It could have been anybody, but like, no, her. Her name means myrtle. But Isaiah, see, well, how do you know when a prophet's in your midst? When their word come to pass. That which was mentioned about that myrtle tree, they come, he's like, in the wildest places, forget the thorns, myrtles. Right? Because the enemies of Israel were called thorns. In the eyes, we told Joshua and them going to the land. So he said, I'm going to remove the thorns and pop up a myrtle tree just out in the middle of nowhere. And you will know I have done it. Amen. You will then consider. Okay. So 2 Corinthians 12, almost done here. 2 Corinthians 12. So just imagine Mordecai and Esther in the way. How can y'all do what you got to do? You got these knuckleheads in the way. So if you want to know why we got hang-ups, we be in the way. We be in the way. Make no bones about it. 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee. Why? For my strength is made perfect in weakness.
Amen. How
strong was y'all? Look. When you in the street hollering, you done fell out, I done gave it up to you. I don't even know, I don't have a petition to give to you, y'all. I ain't got nothing to petition. I'm just hollering. I don't know what to do. I'm giving it to you. He said, excellent. Watch how it work. I'll use a myrtle tree to shake up the mightiest nation. No sword, no warrior, a virgin girl, a baby. Least suspected. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of the Mashiach may rest upon me. Right? So sometimes he wants us to be low. We fighting, trying not to be low. He trying to press us down. I'm squatting back up. Get some sense. Mark 9. Mark 9 and 29. And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. Right? Amen. So they had some demons going. They had some demons over in the Shushan Palace, wasn't it? Some demons going on. All right. Matthew 24. Matthew 24, 21. For then such shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be, and except those days shall be shortened, there should be no flesh saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So the things that are headed in front of us are going to be a quadrillion times worse than what we just looked at with Esther and Mordecai. Worse than Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Worse than Tobit in Nineveh. And here we are, man, I can't even do the little simple things. Now, who are you going to stand for? What's going to be, what memory are you going to have about you in the books recorded in heaven? So this is the story of, breaking it down, it's the story of two women. Two queens. Two brides. So all this comes down to two women, two queens, two brides. One said, I will. The other said, I will not. If Vashti would have went, there wouldn't have been a Hadassah. But she said, I'm not going. I'm not going to the king. And one had the courage to go to the king. And when she went to the king, she got favor and grace. So this story, this right here, this is our story. This is going to be our story. It's real simple. What kind of bride you going to be? What kind of queen you going to be? I will or I will not. Because she had her epiphany when she said, if I die, I die. There's one thing to say stuff like that. But when your mind made up, that if this is what it is, I'll see him on the other side. She had her mind made up. So what kind of queen, what kind of bride are we going to be? I will or I will not. Because one said I will not, one said I will. One said no to the king, the other said yes. The one that said yes to the king said yes to her uncle, who was a surrogate father. She said yes to the Ruach. she get put in a pickle. She's like, I don't know what to do. We just need to pray and fast. She said yes. Yah was able to spare the Yahudim like a myrtle tree right from the palace. Eradicated Amalek. And the gathering of Israel. This is the gathering of Israel, the preparation of the bride, and Yah's business. This is his perfect will and his work. And we're either going to be a Vashti or Hadassah. Who are we on this day?
Don't turn to the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
What, you already saw it?
I want to see it.
Okay. So who are we on this day? Are we a Vashti or Hadassah? Because he wants to do his perfect work and will through us. He wants to do it through his queen, through his bride. So with that being said, thank you for joining Restoring the Branches Ministry. All praise to the Most High Yah for giving His word, for giving us revelation, for understanding, for opening up the scriptures, for just loving us and for giving us countless examples on how we are to be this perfect bride, how we're to prepare ourselves, and how He really made it simple and easy for us to say, I will. When you get married, when you're at the altar, and the man asks you, do you take this woman? And then you say, I do. I will. And that's all y'all want to know, is that will we do? Right? I mean, it was said once at the bottom of Mount Sinai.
Amen.
But now He wants us to say it with our heart and mean it. And
Yes,
not have a
sir.
turnaround, not to regress, not to try to reconsider or back out of something. So who are we on this day? Are we Vashti or are we Hadassah? With that being said, peace and shalom to all the tribes of Israel and to all the people who want to get themselves right with the Master. With that being said, see you next week. Shalom and amen.
Amen.